Welcome back to the Wrestling Philosopher podcast. This is episode 2. I meant to make this episode 3, but I recorded episode 2. I had some issues, so we are waiting for that topic another day. That topic included talking about biomechanics and how that improved my wrestling. I will talk about that another day because the most recent news hitting all the airwaves of wrestling earth right now. First thing, I'm recording this on Friday. No, excuse me, not Friday. Saturday, November 2nd. College wrestling has already started. I believe Wyoming and Campbell wrestled already. Iowa goes against Oregon State tonight. I'm excited to watch that. But the biggest thing I'm going to cover is USA Wrestling's 2024. For those that did not know, we had an Olympic year, 2024. We were at the Paris Games. And I'm going to cover the results top to bottom right now real quick. Talk about some feelings about where we're at with USA Wrestling. And then see if there's something to deduce. Because there's a lot of hot takes on the Twitterverse right now. And I'm here to put some of my thoughts out there. So going over the 2024 Olympic Games, I want to first start with the lightest weight class. Spencer Lee, silver medalist at the Paris Games. He went 3-1, had a great games. Silver medalist, that's our highest place in men's freestyle. And actually, to go back real quick, I'm only going to cover men's freestyle. That's the one I watch the most. But it is very, very apparent that the women are doing a tremendous job right now. But most of the talking points inside of the wrestling Twitter and things I'm seeing in general revolve around men's freestyle. So that's what my conversation today is going to revolve around. So, USA Wrestling's men's freestyle results. Spencer Lee, silver medal. Zane Rutherford, 0-1. Kyle Dake, 3-1, bronze medal. Aaron Brooks, 3-1, bronze medal. Kyle Snyder, 2-2, fifth place. Mason Paris, 0-1. He was eliminated from the tournament early on. Then just the other day, we had the non-Olympic World Championships. I feel like that was harder to say than it should have been. Vito Rujao, I believe he went 3-1 with a bronze medal. Jordan Burroughs, I think he went 2-1. Double check that. I should have these stats in front of me. That's okay though. David Taylor, 3-1, bronze medal. And then finally, we had James Green. I believe he went 1-1. I'll double check that later. But 2 medals at the non-Olympic Games. We had 3 medals at the Olympic Games. None of them gold. The first time USA Wrestling has not had gold since 2014. So, what does this mean? Are people saying, and on top of that, we had Japan have a killer year. Just a killer year. They did awesome. Japan has been the talking point out of the Olympic Games. They had a finalist at the first 3 weight classes at the Olympics. And in addition, the finalists at 61 and 70 at the non-Olympic Worlds with a dominant champion at 61 kilograms that has Masauke Ono, who has taken the wrestling world's imagination by storm. The wrestling world just loves this guy. So we walk away, no golds. Japan, a bunch of golds, and everyone's freaking out. They're worried. They're saying that we got to freak out. But actually, this is the actually guy on social media. You see a lot. I got this information from the Wrestling Nomad on Twitter, and the cumulative point totals across the 4 World Championships Olympics in men's freestyle. At the top, we have Iran, who with U17, U20, U23, Olympics, and the non-Olympics have a total points of 574, with the U.S. right behind at 496, Russia 462, and Japan at 387. Now, Japan did have a great Olympic Games, and notice Russia at the Olympics was not there, so they didn't have any points, so Russia could be probably just ahead of us in terms of their points. But Japan's in 4th place, and way behind is Azerbaijan by 80, so it's a pretty big gap. And then there's a bigger gap between Azerbaijan and Georgia in 5th place. I might put this up on the screen, or I might not. I don't know. We'll figure that out another day. USA Wrestling also won the World Championships at the U17 and U20 level. So there comes the conversation right now is our process, our training protocol, all of that, is that the best that it could be? And I feel comfortable saying it is still good. We are winning junior, and we usually in the past did not win tournaments as Team USA. We won U17 Worlds. We won U20 Worlds. I think we're in a good spot right now. What's happening right now is the old guard is done. That's exactly what's happening right now. David Taylor is no longer going to compete in wrestling as an athlete. He will be a coach, but he's no longer a competitive athlete. At 33 years old, he has 4 world championship titles and a bronze medal. He's retired at 33, I think almost 34 years old. Kyle Dake has 4 world titles to his name, 2 Olympic bronze medals, and I think he still wants some more, but unsure to see what he will do next. Jordan Burroughs, 7 world titles, I think 2 bronze medals. He's probably done. It's not been said yet. James Green, he came out of retirement for this, and I think due to the lack of success at the world level, I'm unsure if he will continue. Vito's just getting going. I think Vito will be just fine, and so I'm covering just the non-Olympic worlds guys because they're coming to mind first. Kyle Snyder probably still going to be kicking for sure. Zane Rutherford no longer going to be competing. I believe he's a coach at the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club or just an assistant coach at Penn State now. I'm not sure, but he's coaching in the State College area. That's all I know. Then Spencer I think is going to still keep going, but there was some speculation he might not. Unsure if that's going to keep going. Mason Paris, I'm unsure of his future, but the biggest thing is like kind of the I'd say the big 3, which have been kind of the faces of USA Wrestling for a long, long time. Kyle Dake, Jordan Burroughs, and David Taylor. They're done. I think they're done. Dake might have another cycle at 79, but that's just another year. I don't know if Dake is done, but I'm comfortable saying he's done, or his relevancy will go down soon. And I've loved Kyle Dake, but I think he's done. I think it's fine to be done too. And so now we need guys to take the mantle in those spots that are not facing USA Wrestling anymore. Just reality. Like there's going to be people in those spots that are not Jordan Burroughs, David Taylor, or Kyle Dake very soon. And soon Kyle Snyder will get his comeuppance too. I don't know who, but just Father Time, undefeated, undisputed, champion of the world. So these guys are walking away, and I think these guys had unreal success because they were kind of the first generation to get like some decent money, the ability to keep training, and kind of how USA Wrestling grew under them, especially under Burroughs. Burroughs was kind of the pioneer of USA Wrestling and really just drove that home. And now that he's done, someone's going to have to be in that 74, 79 kilo area, and we don't know who it is. And I saw this on Twitter. It was actually really, really interesting. Since we didn't have success at like 70 or 79, David didn't have the match he won, and he still gave Sajulayev a very good match. They really cruised through the trials. Vito had a tough trials in this 2 out of 3. I'll give that there to Marcus Blaze, but the other 3 really kind of cruised through, and the fact that they didn't have the same success at the World Championships, should that make us worried? I understand that sentiment. I just think this was just a tough year. Sometimes just years happen. And in the grand scheme of things, this is nothing when you have a high schooler like Marcus Blaze taking Ono to a decision when Ono teched everybody else. I think that's no big deal. When you have the pipeline of Messenbrink, of O'Toole, of Carr at 74, who are all junior world champions, I'm pretty comfortable. And Shapiro at 70 kilos, 57, 157, I think pretty good. So I'm not really concerned about the future of USA Wrestling. I am very interested on what Japan is doing, though. From my sources, I have a coach friend who has traveled across the pond and spent time with Team Japan. He said that what they're doing out there is incredible. Now, this is just at their training center. These are not at the individual schools. So it's like someone visiting the Olympic Training Center here saying like, oh, they're doing all this cool stuff there, but well, they're probably not doing that exactly at Iowa, or they're not doing that exactly at Penn State. So hard to say what's exactly happening in Japan. All I know is that they're having a ton of success, and they are so much fun to watch right now. So I'm not concerned. I'm excited for this next phase. I think the old guard is pretty much gone. I think we have one or two more world championships with Kyle Dake. I don't know if he's going to go to LA. I highly doubt he's going to go to LA. If not, he'll probably do next year, kind of hide, and then pop up just for the Olympic trials. I wouldn't be stunned because I think a lot of people do want to be at the tournament that's in the U.S. If that happens, it just doesn't seem likely to me. So with all these numbers of how we did at the U20 Worlds, U17, U23, all that stuff, that data makes me confident in our future of really, really strong U17, U20. U23 wasn't our best showing. That's okay, though. Neither was the Olympics. And we still had 3 medals. Cool. None of them gold. That's a shame. Non-Olympic Worlds, 2 medals. And at one point, people were thinking 4 golds. I think the biggest thing is that we forget, as this golden era we were in, how special Jordan, Kyle Snyder, Kyle Dake, David R., Thomas Gilman, a lot of these guys, how special they were, 1. And then number 2, how good the world is. And that was brought up on a Flow podcast not too long ago. I think we're in a golden era of U.S. wrestling, and then maybe a little kind of down of the rest of the world. I know Russia isn't at their best right now either, due to a lot of transfers going to other countries. So Russia as a country, like their representatives aren't the best they've been because those guys have gone to other countries. Like Jamalov from Uzbekistan was a Russian up until I think like 9 months ago. And now he's representing Uzbekistan. And so then he won the Olympics, which is great. He probably could have won the Olympics back in 21, but then he had to go through Sidakov, and Sidakov beat him, so he doesn't get to go to the Olympics. And then Kady Magomedov, who represents Belarus, well, he was in Russia, I think in 2018 to 2019, something around that time. And then he's in Belarus at the 2021 games, or 2020 games that were held in 2021. Either way, due to those transfers, Russia's not what it used to be, but they're still training out of Russia. So I don't think the Russian presence is really waning. And on top of that, there are more Russians in the World Championship field than ever because of this. So it's harder to win the World Championships. It's way harder to win the Olympic Games. At one point, it was just one Russian you had to deal with, and then the rest of these countries just were kind of like, yeah, no big deal. Well, now it's no longer the case. And now these guys are going to Turkey, to Poland, to France. They're going to all these different spots to where, I know one's in Australia for sure, which is really funny. But the world is getting tougher. The world is getting smarter. And our stars are essentially done. So a hat tip to a golden era, an era that I got to grow up watching, and an era that really has shaped wrestling, and I hope continues to push wrestling forward. I think our 2024 year was not our best year by any means. But I think it was an important year. It was an exciting year. We got to see Spencer Lee at the senior level. Aaron Brooks made his first team and looked great doing it. Kyle Snyder is still, I don't think he's even 30. He's still kicking. David Taylor didn't make his first team, I think, until 28. I think Kyle Snyder's 28 now. So he's just starting. Not really just starting, but like he's still got a lot of time. Spencer, I think we're going to see Spencer in 2028 for sure. We have guys like Bo Bassett, Jax Forrest. What's his name? Just had his name. Whatever. Mason, the kid from that faced Vito. I already lost his name. I'm the worst. I'm going to hate myself later when I think back on this. But Lilladall, Cody Merrill. And then we get to see David Taylor build up Oklahoma State and the potential there with Zahid there and Roman. USA Wrestling is in good hands right now. This was a tough year, but I don't think there's anything to be worried about. I'm excited for what's next. Don't be worried about what the Twitterverse tells you. We're in a good spot. And that's all I have to say on USA Wrestling's 2024. The last thing I'll go on is David Taylor and his last performance for sure. I won't say this for Jordan quite yet because he's not confirmed done. But David Taylor, you'll probably never hear this, and that's fine. But I want you to know you are one of the reasons why I'm back in wrestling. There was a period of time I was away from wrestling, and I just didn't want anything to do with it. But then you and Kyle Dake in 2018 won world championships in Budapest. And that, along with a couple other things, was the right nudge to get me back into the sport. And since I've come back, I've loved it. I've coached, I've trained, I've traveled, and now I'm talking. And it's been a blast. I cannot wait to see what you do at Oklahoma State. It's going to be a ton of fun to watch. And all I got to say is good ride, cowboy. That's all I have for the episode 2 of the Wrestling Philosopher podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Next episode, I'm planning on talking about biomechanics and how it changed my wrestling. This is more of a recap. I didn't have too much thoughts to add, but I just want to talk about it because it's fun. And I want to get this podcast thing pumping. Start putting out episodes, ideas. I want to get that on. USA Wrestling's going to be just fine. David Taylor's the shit, and this podcast is over. Have a good day.